All right, everybody, welcome to Trending. Today is Thursday, February 10th. My name is Matt.
I'm Joe.
Welcome to Trending.
Yes.
We're going to do what we do every week. We're going to take a look at some of the top trending news stories this morning, talk about it from a faith perspective whenever it's relevant, whenever we can.
Yes.
Got a good mix of some fun ones today and a couple things I'm really interested to get your take on.
Okay.
So today should be a fun episode.
All right, let's do it.
All right, let's start things off with kind of a lighthearted one. So the TV show Futurama is trending this morning.
Okay.
Did you ever watch Futurama?
I have never. I have no idea.
Do you know anything about it?
No.
Okay.
No.
I think it was on Cartoon Network. I should have
Okay.
done. But it was one of those like Adult Swim. It was kind of like an adult cartoon. Right. I don't think it was necessarily like over the top inappropriate, but it was just one of those like adult cartoons, right?
Okay.
So I think it was on Cartoon Network. I think the show ended a while back. And then now it's trending this morning because Hulu is bringing it back. They're reviving it for like a new Hulu original thing. So I just thought it'd be fun to hear from you, Joe. What show do you want to come back? If Hulu or Netflix does another reboot, what would be your first choice for?
Oh, wow, that's interesting. So there's a lot of shows that like came to a premature end.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
One that I really enjoyed was, I think it was called was it like Revolution? It was like a modern day, and then all of a sudden like the internet got unplugged, and so everybody's like living like colonial folks again, and there's like every kind of segmented to different parts of the country. So I think that would be one. I was kind of sad to see that go.
Okay.
I was just like, I wish I would like do research on a show before I watch the first couple episodes, because you get dialed in and then
and it's over.
Yes. Yeah. Now I'm a big like Jason Bourne fan. Like the Bourne movies are kind of like my faves. Treadstone came out for a season.
Okay.
And it was looking good.
Okay. All
these complicated plot lines though, and I thought, okay, they're gonna have 2 or 3 seasons to like button all this down.
Yep.
And it was gone after one season. So Internet world, bring Treadstone back for the love of Pete. Like I would just love to see where that story's gonna go, man. How about you?
I love it. I've got two. I spent some time thinking about this.
Okay.
So I really like the show Last Man on Earth. Did you ever get into that?
I have. I mean, I know what it is, but I never got into it.
Will Forte. It was really good, I think it had 3 or 4 seasons, and it kind of ended on a cliffhanger. So it didn't. Most shows, at least, they try to wrap up somehow if they know it's ending. But that one had a big cliffhanger. So Last Man on Earth, and then a lot of the ones I grew up just loving, they have rebooted, and they haven't been very good. You know what I mean? So there's this new this wave of Girl Meets World came back up after Boy Meets World. Right. There was Fuller House after Full House. Yeah. So I haven't seen the Saved by the Bell reboot that's on Peacock. I think.
I haven't.
Or even like I loved the Mighty Ducks movies growing up. Yep. I watched the Netflix ones, and they're just not very good. So there's part of me that's just hesitant, because what most of those do is they take the main characters, now their kids are the main characters, and that just is weird usually. Yeah. So here's my hot take.
Okay, coming in hot.
I think they should bring back Doug.
Doug?
Did you ever watch Doug?
Yeah.
The cartoon Doug?
Yes.
So there's a couple memes of like, what would Doug and Patty look like today? If they're like these aging millennials, what would Doug Funny be doing right now?
Wow.
And so I want to see a Doug reboot.
So here's like a bold prediction for you. Okay. What if one of the Super Bowl ads coming up this weekend has got Doug in it?
Doug, that would be amazing.
If that happens, and if I'm right, I'm going to take a day off next week. I'm just gonna, I
think it's a safe bet. If Doug Funny is in a Super Bowl commercial in 2022, you can do whatever you want. You've earned it.
All right, you heard it here first.
Yes. Okay. Way off the rail. Futurama. So I don't know. We love. What do you want to see rebooted? Let us know.
Yeah, put it in the comments below.
Yeah, let us know what you want to see rebooted, and if you're watching Futurama, let us know what you think.
All right.
Kind of a quick stock update. I don't really follow stocks very closely. I don't know if you do, but it's kind of an interesting side story. Disney stock is up a lot today or this week, and so I don't really pay super close attention, but I read an article that it's kind of interesting that they're tracking Disney because Disney is up right now because of streaming and because of theme parks.
Okay.
So they're kind of saying that Disney is an interesting like model to watch, because if streaming is up and theme parks are up, that's an interesting statement on America post-COVID.
Right.
So now that theme parks are back open and a lot of people are flocking to Disney World, it's kind of people are comfortable getting together again.
Right.
So Disney is up for those two reasons, and I think it's just an interesting summary of American culture for the moment. People are watching a lot of streaming channels, and they're open to going back out again. So that's again, we don't usually talk about stocks, but that was just an interesting
Yeah.
little tidbit of American culture there.
We need to try to anticipate the future. I think sometimes it's folly to do so, but I think it's also prudent to do so. And so you have to make some decisions. What do we watch as like an indication, at least a shadowy indication that something is happening, either good or bad?
Yep.
And so that's what economists do. They kind of make a bet and a wager on stuff. Sometimes it's like they monitor trucker volume and mileage because that means goods are moving.
Yeah.
Stock market's kind of always embracing what the future might be. I think it's good to kind of look at where would people go first when they feel like it's safe to do so.
Yep.
Not just defiantly so, but like safe to do so. And maybe theme parks are one of those indicators. So,
kind of just interesting little tidbit of news there. So
nice.
Good for Disney, I suppose.
Yeah.
Just interesting tidbit of American culture there.
Nice.
Okay, we talked about this person a couple weeks ago. Dolly Parton is trending again this morning. Good old Dolly.
Right.
We talked about her a few weeks ago. And she's just this nice, wholesome figure in American pop culture, which I appreciate, at least at this stage of her career.
Yeah.
She's trending this morning because her company, she has Dollywood, I think, and is it Branson? Or is it Nashville? I don't know. Wherever her headquarters is, they released, I think yesterday, that they're going to start offering free tuition for all of their employees. Yeah. So full-time, part-time, seasonal, day one, you can have full-time tuition paid for by Dolly Parton.
Right.
So I just love that she just keeps finding new ways to be generous. And I love that she's that kind of person and that America is embracing a person like that. Right. So are you following that whole story? Did you hear about that?
A little bit, and it speaks into organizational culture and psychology. So there was a series of tests back in the early 20th century trying to figure out how do you build morale for the workplace. And, they did a test on pay increase, vacation increase, stuff that's changed in the break room, things like that. But connection to managers or bosses or even CEOs is probably like the guiding factor of people having a longevity in a company. Okay. And so this is kind of a neat development. This is the great resignation season, right? People changing careers, changing jobs, just going different directions. So it's neat to see people say, we're going to take matters in our own hands. We're not going to wait to see what our employees are going to do. Yeah. Let's give them every reason to stay because retention is probably the best indicator of a healthy organization. Yeah. And so it's kind of cool that she's doing that. I just think that's wonderful. And I think people also know too, there is strain being put on our culture because of inflation, rising costs, just all these different pains. And so it's neat to see an employer go, instead of battening down the hatches for myself, how can I lift the burdens of others, particularly those who directly impact me. Right. And so for them to say, I'm going to give to my company, invest in my company and those people, I think it's just a welcome change. I think it's just a neat story that's happening. Yeah. It's
very cool.
Yeah.
Way to go, Dolly, and may there be many more Dolly Partons in the world.
Here. Yes.
I love it. Okay, we got two more. One's kind of, possibly controversial. I'm interested to get your take. Then we've got a really fun one to wrap things up with. So hang with us. We got a fun story coming up at the end.
It's all a balance.
Yes, it's all balance.
Okay.
So this one, it's not trending on Google or Twitter this morning, but it's trending in Christian Twitter. Christian news outlets are loving this story.
Yes.
I'm interested to get your takes on it.
The most delightful corner of Twitter.
Yes, exactly. Very wholesome, very uplifting, very encouraging.
Right.
Okay, so John Cooper is trending this morning. Do you know the name John Cooper? John Cooper is the lead singer and the frontman of the band Skillet.
Okay.
I loved Skillet when I was in high school.
Okay.
Great kind of rock, Christian rock, I don't know, whatever. They were kind of edgy, just kind of just a fun band. So they're still around. They're still touring. They're currently on the Winter Jam or whatever, one of those big festivals that has all these artists. So in recent years, John Cooper has gotten a little bit more bold in his public persona. He's done some stuff on Fox News. He's just kind of risen as a public figure. A lot of what he says I actually agree with. He's a thought-provoking guy. Okay. He's kind of got a mix of I'm not so sure about that, but that's a good point. He's kind of one of those guys.
Right.
So he was trending yesterday because he, at Winter Jam at one of their concerts, kind of went on this riff. I might post part of the video over here in just a second, but he said a lot of things, and again, I think it's a mix of good and possibly troubling things. He said some things about how young people are worshiping celebrities and how that has, obviously there's a danger to that. So he kind of went off on a lot of things. But one thing that he said that's getting a lot of attention is he kind of criticized the Deconstruction Movement.
Okay.
and he said that there's more and more of these young Christians who are deconstructing their faith, and he said that's it's a false religion. He said it's just this unhealthy wave in the Christian church, and he had a lot of pretty negative things to say about the deconstruction movement.
Okay.
We declare war against this deconstruction Christian movement. And I'll tell you what, I don't even like calling it deconstruction Christian because there is nothing Christian about it. It is a false religion.
So, we haven't talked about that on here before.
Right.
So for people who maybe have heard that term but aren't too sure, how would you define deconstruction? Let's start there. What is deconstruction?
Yeah. So deconstruction is different than destruction.
Yes.
Okay. And so we got to, I think, establish that. Because I think when we hear the word deconstruction, we think someone is removing everything. And that's certainly not the case. It is a philosophical move. I think it's always been in the stream of where religion and philosophy overlap.
Okay.
But probably more recently, it's been in the emergence of postmodernism. That's kind of a swear word in some conservative evangelical circles. But postmodernism can be helpful to the church, and it can be a challenge to the church, because postmodernism says there's a collapse of a meta-narrative, and now we have several narratives that govern tribes of people.
Yeah.
So there's not one overarching story, because the moment that you try to make a claim, this is the story of all stories, someone can say, well, who told you that? Like, says who? And then all of a sudden it unravels.
Right.
So what deconstruction says is like, I think the best image I have for deconstruction came from, I believe, Jacques Derrida and Jacques Caputo, who are postmodern philosophers.
Okay. Rolls right off the tongue.
It does.
I have no idea
right?
who those people are, but
But
okay.
they say, like, imagine like lava coming out of a volcano, rolls down the volcano, and then it hardens, and you assume then that the lava is gone, that the heat and the energy from the lava is gone. What deconstruction does is it opens up the hard casing around the dry lava, and it allows the life to be exposed again. And this is what happens, I think, honestly, in a Christian faith. We are handed a faith before we can ever ask questions about it.
Right.
Okay? So we have to assume at some point that it is healthy for a person to say, I wonder where these beliefs come from. What's their origin? Who concluded these things?
Yeah.
Was there a minority report after these things were suggested? So when you start bumping into those things, a natural result is to say, to begin like assimilation of things. I'm probably going to hold this loosely or tighter because of that, or I'm going to let it go. And I just think that naturally happens in a thoughtful believer's life. So there's a guy named Paul Ricoeur. He's also a philosopher. He had the three phases of what he called metaphysical religion, mystical religion. Okay. So, are you still with me here?
I'm with you. I'm tracking.
Do I need to get the pedals out? And
No, you're good.
Okay, all right.
I'm with you. I don't know these names, but I'm tracking.
All right. So Paul Ricoeur said that the first phase of a mystical faith is first naivete. Like, you're handed stuff. Believe this because we believe it as a family or as a culture, right? The second phase is what he called critical distance. Some people called it atheism, or like a pushing away of the thing that we were given. Okay, but he always felt like atheism was going to be a phase, like it's not like an end spot for people. And then the third phase he called the second naivete, where you embrace a lot of the first things that you had before, but you now embrace them with a little more honesty.
Okay.
And now that you've gone through your critical distance phase.
Yeah.
And so that's what he called mystical religion. Religion, you don't have to like fight off everyone who doesn't believe the way that you do. You're settled in your beliefs.
Yeah.
You understand that other people have gone through a similar process, so you don't need to assimilate them into what you know in order for them to be safe. You can now have this understanding. We've both gone through our inquiry. We both have, through our community and through our experience, through sacred tradition, we've kind of landed where we are. And so we hold this a little more healthily than we did in prior years.
Yep.
So for someone like him to say that, he probably has got a lot of personal relationships where this has happened. And that's probably where the wound is. I just kind of wonder if he hasn't gone through a similar process himself. He's not honest. Totally with how he's had to assimilate some of his own initial conclusions about the faith before he ever had a chance to investigate them himself. So
I think a lot of times when people come out with statements like this, it comes from a place of fear. And I don't know John Cooper, and I don't want to say this is exactly his situation, so I want to be careful here. But like, in general, I think a lot of people are scared when a large group of people challenge what they believe, right? It's hard to accept that a lot of people think that what I believe is wrong. It makes you fearful. It makes you, like you said, hold on tighter to things. But one article I read this morning talked about how deconstruction is kind of like a buzzword right now. A lot of people are talking about it. But Martin Luther deconstructed his faith.
He did.
Our church exists because of people deconstructing and reconstructing their faith. Like Menno Simons deconstructed his faith and came up with a new thing that a lot of people thought was healthier than what existed before. So I agree that I think it is actually a healthy thing for you to challenge what you believe, challenge what you were grown up with, and come embrace what you actually believe instead of just holding on to what other people told you. So I think it's a good thing that we shouldn't be afraid of, but I understand why people are afraid of it.
Right. So I think some things to consider when this process is like, number one, like try to read and assimilate as much material as possible, and really as old as possible. I think one of the critical things that we're missing in our culture today is we tend to only take on and look at like the scrolling headlines, the clickbaity stuff. And so the honest question would be like, when was the last time you read something that was pretty old? That's going to be healthy. You don't only read old things, but that's got to be in the mix of some of the stuff because that tends to come from a more calm and temperate point of view instead of like the sensationalism that tends to happen out there. I think number two, this needs to happen in community so that we don't jump to conclusions and see things that we want to see. Because I think a community kind of helps sand the rough edges of a deconstruction process. And really like to take stock. Are my new conclusions chasing away all of my friends? And if they are, then that's probably a red flag in some regard. But I think it should attach you to community, and I think it should attach you to the old tradition, the lingering story of our faith, and it should make you more healthy and whole. So Jonathan Edwards, a Puritan preacher. He was used to like very stoic religion, very calm worship services. The First Great Awakening washed over New England, and there were some ecstatic experiences happening that he was not quite used to. He didn't have a framework or a rubric to see if this is from the devil or from God. And so he came up with a quadrilateral of investigation, of testing the spirits, he called it, in one of his old books. He said that if anything draws you into deeper love with God, deeper love of neighbor, deeper love of holiness or being pure before God, or deeper love of the witness of Scripture, and not just Paul's portion of the Scripture, but the whole counsel of God, then that is something that God is doing in our life. So if anything new is entering into our life, this is something that Ginger and I, we've used. It's like, okay, let's pick these 4 criteria out. Does this new thing draw me closer to any of these 4 things or all 4 of those things? Then it is originated from God himself.
It's good, and it's tricky. I understand why it's difficult and tricky. The last thing I'll say, which this might be a little controversial, I don't know, but let's say like the deconstruction movement is raising a lot in our generation, right? There's a lot of people our age, roughly our age, that are having questions about their faith. And I would say if a large population of people are having the same questions, maybe there's a reason for that, and maybe we all inherited a faith that maybe had some issues to begin. Like not that the Christian faith had issues, but the 90s Christian faith that a lot of us inherited, maybe there's some things we need to talk about and things we need to figure out. So
that's a great point.
If a lot of people are asking the same questions, maybe they're worth investigating instead of shunning and hiding from them. So.
That's a great point, and I think I would tag onto that. There is no boogeyman trying to convince Christians to question their faith for some ulterior motive and reason. Like this is not, it is just simply not the case. And ultimately, I think that the moment that a person can take a hold of their own faith and begin to try to work it out, it ultimately is a good thing. It may seem like frustrating in the moment for the loved ones in their life, but I've just seen it time and time again. When they get to the other side of that, they're a more healthy individual than they were beforehand. And I will say this, one generation's liberty becomes the next generation's legalism. So the thing that one generation used to help grow their faith and to embrace their moment for their purpose of God's purpose for their generation, whenever we put that weight on the next generation after us, it may not be as healthy or liberating. It may be a legalism.
Yeah.
Giving them like a job to maintain something that was good for us, but it's not good for them.
Yeah.
And so I think we got to keep that in mind too. The older that we get, is that God will do a new thing.
Yeah.
In a new generation. And so we shouldn't impose. We should guide and be like wisdom to the next generation, but we cannot impose and weigh them down.
Yeah.
That tends to be the case over and over again. And when we do that, kind of a weird thing actually takes place. We actually don't trust God's sovereignty.
Right. Yeah.
We don't. Like we're controlling helicopter parents of the faith
Right.
instead of trusting in God's sovereignty, what He's doing in the moment. God can do it better than we can, so we need to turn it over to God, allow Him to do it for that generation's purpose.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, a little bit heavy, but that was an important topic.
Yes. Are you okay?
I'm great. Are you good?
Do we do some calisthenics?
No, dude.
I'm good. Take a lap. Okay.
I'm good. But I've got a palate cleanser for our last topic for the day.
You're good.
You ready?
Man. Yes.
Let's transition from deconstruction to Pat Sajak. Wheel of Fortune, Pat Sajak.
Man, like he must be 130 years old.
I don't know, but he is still alive and kicking and doing a great job on TV.
Yeah.
So Wheel of Fortune and Pat Sajak are trending this morning. Are you in the Wheel of Fortune? I feel like we're all Wordle people, so Wheel of Fortune is not too far away.
Right.
Do you ever watch Wheel of Fortune? Do you know what's going on with Wheel of Fortune?
It's been a long time. I feel like if I'm going to watch a early evening game show, it's probably going to be Jeopardy and not Wheel of Fortune.
Okay, you're one of those people. Okay.
Yeah.
So Wheel of Fortune's trending 3 days in a row.
Okay.
The contestant won the max grand prize. What? So not only did they solve the problem, not only did the little wheel land on the $100,000 cash, 3 days in a row, $100,000 cash was the prize on the wheel, and they solved it. And I think that's the first time in show history that I think 2 days in a row was a record. Now they're going on 3 days in a row where people are winning a lot of money on Wheel of Fortune.
Man.
So Pat Sajak is trending because last night, I guess he was just amazed that it happened 3 days in a row.
I'm out of it. That's it. I'm through. 121,000. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
He threw his little card and just walked off the stage just because he was just kind of amazed at the moment.
He couldn't keep it cool in that moment, huh?
So
think about all the episodes they filmed.
Right.
And he's never seen that. And then like, here it is, like down the road. Wow.
3 days in a row, grand cash prize winnings. So if you ever wanted to go on Wheel of Fortune, this is the week.
That's right.
So I don't know how you sign up for Wheel of Fortune.
So whoever this so is this a different person each time?
Yeah.
Man.
3 days in a row, 3 different people, 3 different puzzles. Luck of the draw and the spin. And there you go.
That's amazing. So like you've heard of like bringing down the house, right? Like the counting cards and like blackjack, right? Like so like the table's hot right now.
Yes, table's hot. Go to wherever they film Wheel of Fortune.
And it moves around. We actually have a friend from Sterling who won Wheel of Fortune back then,
really?
Christian DeShields.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was kind of fun to watch him.
And friend of trending, Cheryl Plucker, one time auditioned. She wanted to be, I don't think she actually was, but she auditioned to be a contestant.
She would have been a quintessential.
She would have been excellent.
Wheel of Fortune candidate.
We need to start like a Twitter campaign to get Cheryl on Wheel of Fortune.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's start it right here on trending. Cheryl needs to be on Wheel of Fortune.
That would have been awesome.
We're volunteering you, Cheryl. You're going to represent us on Wheel of Fortune.
If you don't like it, you're stuck with it.
All right, man, a little bit longer today, kind of mix of topics, but I think it's really good for us to talk about these kind of things.
Yeah.
So thank you for guiding us with your pastoral wisdom through these ups and downs of culture. It's a good thing. So
I like the way that you ordered him today. Like it was a good up and down, push and pull.
Yes.
Like you're a wizard at that.
We got Futurama, and we got Deconstruction and Dolly Parton, and Pat Sajak. You never know what's going to hit.
Man,
so.
That's right.
Love it.
That's good stuff, man.
All right. Well, hey, anything else before we close out today?
Just want to give a plug for New Manna, the food packing project that's coming up a couple weekends from now. It's like over 120,000 meals. It's going to feed over 300 kids for a whole year in Nicaragua. I mean, what a moment that we could come together and get this done. It's an awful fun time, too. I remember, like, Ezra did his first food packing project as like a 5 or 6 year old.
Yeah,
I saw this picture from the church that we were at, and he's got like a gal in our church who was in her late 60s helping him pack food. I thought this is a cool picture of the church, old and young coming together and looking out for the needs of others. And so we encourage you to sign up, and maybe you can put the link for our project sign up on the video so that we can get people signed up.
Yep. Look for the link in the comments. That's a good idea. We'd love to have you join us.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, with that, I think we'll wrap it.
Sounds good.
Thanks for joining us today. Happy Thursday. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
See ya.